Are you hearing me now? Anyone? Yes, you can. It's so weird talking and it's like, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me now? Oh, you could hear me before. Yeah, because you answered my question. All right. Here's someone else too. Good morning and welcome to Biology. Oh, but JB, I missed your response. Are you still feeling sick? Oh, because of your cat? And your back hurts. Oh. What's up with the cat? Your back hurts from the cat? Is that what happened? Oh. Backaches are honestly one of the worst. Backaches and headaches. You guys are hilarious. Well, I want to take one quick minute to just ask you all to join Remind. Are you all part of our class Remind? I'm going to put it in chat. Hey, Miley, could you grab me a tissue? My nose is running. Okay, grab me your phonics book. That's fine, I'll help you. And I'm going to put this also on the board for you so that you can join this. Why join the class Remind? Bring me your computer first. You should join our class Remind because it is one way that we can be connected, okay? This allows me and you to text, or me and your learning coach to text. I'm going to be completely honest, of most methods of communication, I usually get the most response from text, okay? So Remind just allows you and I, Alex, to be able to text. Here, Miley, just do it on the computer. Okay? Remind it. Sometimes teachers will use it to send out reminders. Who in the class is currently using Remind? Anyone, will you say in chat? Some of you are already using it. Who's using it with me? Yeah, Brianna has. Okay, Brianna, do I like totally spam you? Do I text you all the time? Send you all kinds of crazy reminders? There goes Jaden, Brianna. All right, I do not use Remind as a constant way of spamming you about biology at all hours of the day. All right, what I use Remind for is to really communicate with you one-on-one without blowing up mass emails. And it really is awesome. Anyway, I went to text some of y'all yesterday through Remind, and I realized some of you that are in class with me every single day have not signed up for Remind. And I can't text you because you have not signed up for that. If you have a learning coach that has one, that would be great. If you have a cell phone, that would be great. All right, it's just another way of communicating. What do you need? You're itchy. Would you like to teach with me today? Okay. All right. Pop up here. All right. Can you say hello to everyone? You're going to be bashful. Awesome. See, this is JB. This is my little cat that hurts my back when I carry her or when she jumps on me. Do you ever jump on mommy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, a small Mrs. Rittenhouse is with us this morning. So yes, a school email, either email will work. School email, personal email. All right. I would just love to be able to communicate with you. Jasmine, Honesty, some of them have it, and we text back all the time. All right, and they have a question. Like one time I accidentally ended class too early, and Honesty was like, wait a minute, I had a question. So she was able to just text me and say, hey, I have a question. I was, you ended class before I was able to answer or ask you. So just go ahead and sign up for that if you haven't. Again, it's right up here on the board. It's a great communication tool, okay? Awesome. So let's go dive right back into what we were doing yesterday, all right, which was going through our genetics vocabulary. You have to hold real still, okay? Are you done? Are you done teaching? Okay, say bye, class. Bye, class. My little panda bear's leaving. All right, which is probably good. My sunlight is coming in a lot this morning. So let's go back over these goals, because what we talked about yesterday is where we're going to stay today, because we didn't quite get through all of those vocabulary words. But I have a fun super activity that I want to get through these with, and then we'll go ahead and finish. Here you go. Oh, you want backup? Well, you better go get yourself a spoon if you're going to eat that yogurt. Anyone want to read these today? Somebody tell us, what are we going to do today in class?
What is genetics? Who is Gregor Mendel, and what are the hints of hereditary information he discovered? What's an allele, and why do we have 2 of them for each trait?
Thank you, JB. All right, so let's answer that. What are alleles? We went over alleles yesterday. What are alleles? Okay, you can't do that, or you'll have to leave. All right, you gotta be quiet. Oh, mommy teaches. What are alleles? Different flavors of genes. Oh, so Jaden, when you want to go talk on your mic, in the top left-hand corner, there should be a little like microphone icon. And you can click on that and it should let you speak. You also may be able to click underneath me where the ribbon is on your name. I think you can click on it there as well. Is that right? JB, Caden, some of you that use them all the time. So that's where you should be able to find your mic. Good, yes. So I see you all going in the chat. And you are right. So we have 2 alleles, right? Where do our 2 alleles come from? We have 2 alleles for every trait. It'll be right back on. Why do you have 2? Yes, Kaden. You get 1 from mom. Yes, Brianna, 1 from dad, right? So every single trait, we have 2 alleles, a variety of a gene, okay? And one of those comes from mom and one of those comes from dad. Perfect. So we have these 2 basically checked off going in today. Who is Gregor Mendel? Can somebody tell me? Yes, right? The FOG. Everybody type the FOG. Caden's like, yes, he is the father. He's not the father of the bride. He is the father of genetics. Yes, Thomas, I like that. FOG. We have the FOG in the house. Yes, ma'am. So yes, Gregor Mendel is the FOG, and he found out that there is some type of passing of traits, what we call heredity, all right? And he was the one who kind of began the discoveries of this. He found it, and then everyone after that was like sequential discoveries. But he was the one that's kind of started this movement of understanding our DNA and how DNA is passed from parents to offspring. All right. Awesome. So let's skip ahead. We know these things. All right. We know you just told me what heredity was. Right. It's the verb. It's an action word. It's the passing of traits. All right, our alleles are our forms of genes. All right, for every trait inside and outside of your body. Do we have any diabetics? My brother-in-law is a diabetic. We actually kind of test Rennie for diabetes. Any diabetics in the house? Not me, your grandpa, your aunt. So there's different forms of diabetes. Usually if you have them as a child, your mom's good. Well, so sometimes that is a genetic trait. All right, and that's not something you necessarily see on the outside, but it's something that is but it's something on the inside that is a result of your genotype. All right, so we have alleles, they're forms of genes. We have 2 of them, one from each parent. We talked about our phenotype. All right, so diabetes would be a phenotype, something that's a result of our genotype, which is actually the code inside our DNA. So the genotype is the code, the phenotype is the expression. All right, I used a book yesterday as an example, like the words of a book. I'm so sorry, I feel like I'm so bright from my window. The words of a book are your genotype, and then like the illustrations of your book are the phenotype. All right. Again, I talked about this picture and how much I love it. Awesome. Right as we were ending yesterday, we talked about the 2 different types of alleles that you can inherit. All right, one is a dominant allele. And if that dominant allele, if you have it in your genotype, it's being expressed, okay? Because dominant alleles are always expressed when they're present, all right? We use capital letters, any capital letter. It's kind of like math. You know how in algebra, X, you always use X, like it's the chosen letter? But you really could use any letter of the alphabet. It's just kind of a placeholder. These are placeholders. Letters are placeholders for our genotypes. All right, and when we use capital letters, that represents our dominant alleles. And when we use lowercase letters, that represents our recessive alleles. And we only see the phenotype expressed from the recessive allele when we have 2. I know, I won't do any more math. I don't like them either. What's your question, JB? Give it to me. So if there are 2 dominant genes, basically this is the same thing. So if you have a big A, you won't know the difference between big A and little a. All right. You could have either one of those genotypes and the phenotype is going to look the same. So they might be different on the inside, but you won't necessarily know it. And that's going to take us that's a perfect question. That's going to take us into today when we talk about Punnett squares. All right, I'm looking at basically where we get our genes from and what their genotypes are. Okay, so yes, so you will never have like a two different letters in the same genotype, because that would be like combining. Mila, can you turn that down a little bit, honey? That would be like combining an allele for eye color and an allele for hair color. Does that make sense? So think of your different letters as like they could potentially be a different letter for every trait that you have, except for that we would run out of letters in the alphabet. All right, all of your character traits are going to have the same allele. So for hair color, it will always be represented with like the same letter. Sure, Alex, what's your question? Yep, and I can send these out too if you'd like me to, Maria. Oh, thank you. Yes, so there are, and we'll get there in a minute, there are going to be traits, like, for example, your eye color, okay? Your eye color is actually not determined by one specific gene pair. There are actually a sequence of gene pairs that determine things like your eye color, okay? And let me look here. Yes, so like our hair colors and eye colors, sometimes there's greater variety, right? Like there's not like a black and a white choice. You either have, you know, this really predominant color or you have that predominant color. All right, and you'll see that because sometimes there will be multiple genes that will code for that. So we'll take that sequence and that's where you'll see that blending. There's also something called codominance and incomplete dominance, and we'll get to that later in our genetics lesson too. This is so fun because we get to actually look at all of our character traits, all right, and look at how those are put together. I'm going to read this question real quick. Yes, so genotype is the code and the phenotype is the expression. Yep. Genotype is the code and phenotype is the expression. Perfect. All right, so we are going to talk about today what these look like. So if you have two recessive alleles, that is what we call you are homozygous for a trait. What is the, if we're going to dissect this word, what does that prefix mean, homo mean? All right, this is when we can do some dissecting. Perfect. Right, so homozygous, if we see that prefix, we can even use our brains. Even if Mrs. Rittenhouse wasn't here to teach you, what does that mean? Homo means the same. So when you're homozygous, that means you have the same allele from both your mom and your dad. So you can be either what we call homozygous dominant, where you have two dominant alleles, or, yeah, perfect, Jana. Or you can be homozygous recessive, where you have recessive alleles from both mom and dad. So in your genotype, we could say, oh, you are homozygous dominant. We could say, oh, you're homozygous recessive. Or we could say, you're heterozygous. All right? And just like we could dissect homozygous, we can dissect hetero. If homo means the same, what does hetero mean? Good. Different. Different. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you what the hidden part says because Nero moved my images. Right, these are, just know that these are two different genes for the same trait. All right? And this would be two identical genes for the same trait. So we're talking about one trait and having either two of the same alleles or two different alleles. Yeah. Perfect. So yep, there is a allele for the blue eye color. I believe it is recessive. I cannot get away from this light. A little better, I think, if I come this way. Yes. You're right. And we're going to talk more about those as we progress through the unit. All right, so homozygous, I like this, and heterozygous, this is a good picture of what your chromosomes could look like. All right, let's talk about maybe the shape of your nose, okay? The shape of your nose is coded in your DNA. We call these your genotypes. All right, for the shape of your nose, you have one of these varieties. You are either homozygous dominant, you are either homozygous recessive, or you may be heterozygous. All right. You can see in this example that this individual is heterozygous. Now, it does not matter if you are big B, or little b, big B. Okay? I want you to hear this. A lot of times people are like, which comes first? The capital letter or the lowercase? Or if you switch that, if you're heterozygous, it doesn't matter. Okay? If you're I usually put the big letter first, just like in a sentence, you put a capital letter first. All right. So heterozygous, you have the same alleles. Heterozygous, you have different. All right, a Punnett square is a tool that we're going to use to analyze possible breeding possibilities. All right, that's what's covered up. Possible breeding possibilities. So this is not going to tell you, hey, Ren, I need you to be quiet, honey. All right, this is going to tell you your genetic possibilities. How many children do I have? How many children does Mrs. Rittenhouse have? Do I have 4 children? Ren saying 2. 2. All right, I have 2. I have 2 girls. So this Punnett square does not say Mrs. Rittenhouse will have 4 children and their genotypes will be these genotypes. All right, if we're looking at my genotype and my husband's genotype for a certain trait, these Punnett squares give us the genetic possibilities of our offspring for one trait, okay? Still trying to get away from this light. So a Punnett square gives you the genetic possibilities for your offspring for one trait. That's what we're going to use Punnett squares for in this unit. All right, are you ready for the fun? Sweet, my phone is blowing up with remind updates from you. Thank you all for signing up for that, for those of you who did. So what we're going to do right now is I would like you to pick one word that you're going to join a team of your classmates with, and you're going to go to a breakout room, and you're going to make a slide that represents this allele. You're going to draw pictures, might put a little text on there. So I want you, let me make sure, oops. I'm going to give you, make sure, do you have permissions? I think you do. Yes. So go ahead, use the pencil tool. There's a text tool to draw your name on here. Put your name on here, guys. There are 84 of you. So go ahead and put your name on here. I want everyone to sign up for a word. And I'm going to look over here. I think that should allow you to move to the correct room that you want. Let me make sure I have that saved. All right, so I'm going to name these rooms. And I want you then, go ask Milo, please. Let me see. Is everyone signing up? Oh, it went away. No. There we go. Re-sign up. All right, these are going to be in order from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm going to try to write these on here. 4, 9, 10. All right, let me assign these rooms. So the first is homozygous is for going to be our first room. Heterozygous will be breakout room 2. What is the third word? Can someone write that for me? I'm on a different screen. Oh, I can't see. I'm going to start these rooms. Oh, heredity and gene. Go ahead. Can you see them? You can go ahead and head to your rooms. Some of them are named and some of them are not yet. And then if you do not join a room, I'm going to put you in a room. No. After that, I will. All right, if you go ahead and just type the name. You don't have boards in your room? Okay, let me go on in there.